I've spent all month talking about domestic violence and the different types of domestic violence. And tonight I want to talk to you about economic abuse and financial conflict and what that looks like. And the reason why I thought that it was so important to bring specific light to this particular form of domestic violence is because, quite frankly, we don't talk about it enough. We just don't talk about it enough, and I would suggest that a lot of people might not even know what economic abuse is. But economic abuse is a legally recognized form of domestic abuse. And a lot of times it occurs in the context of intimate partner violence, but it all boils down to a partner or an ex-partner's money and finances being controlled by the person that they're either in a relationship with or used to be in a relationship with, as well as controlling the things that money can buy. So if you or someone that you know is a victim of economic abuse or any other form of domestic violence, you have the option of calling 911 or the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Touchtone dial 800-787-3224, or you can text START, START, to 88788. I've been talking about this because, you know, when it comes to domestic violence, so often we don't hear about it or pay as close attention to it until we hear of a tragic event or somebody that we know and care about. But the bottom line is this campaign, Everyone Knows Someone, is a campaign that focuses on the fact that many of us, if not all of us, we would suggest everybody knows someone who is affected by domestic violence. And here's the catch, whether you realize it or not. So I thought that it would be really important to share with you some specifics regarding economic abuse. And the reason why is because, you know, if we were to look at it from a biblical standpoint, the Bible tells us that we perish for lack of knowledge, right? And I remember growing up and being told as a kid, you know, you ask a question and whoever it is you're asking says, don't worry about it. What you don't know won't hurt you. And I remember getting to a point, I would probably say early adolescence, where I came to the realization, like, wait a minute. Yes, it can hurt me. What I don't know can absolutely positively hurt me. So when I think about how important it is to have the necessary information to make well-informed decisions, economic abuse is one of those areas where I truly believe that it is imperative for people to understand that economic abuse is a problem. Economic abuse is more prevalent than people realize, and that's why I want to shed light on it. I want to heighten your awareness about this problem. So, how prevalent is economic abuse? Well, on a recent survey, it was found that 22% of the people who participated in the survey have experienced financial abuse in their past relationship. And 14% of those surveyed are currently in a financially abusive situation. Wow. Is that you? Is that perhaps someone you know? You may be having conversations with someone that you love and care about, and every time you turn around, they're telling you that they don't have any money, or this is wrong, or that is wrong, or the other is wrong. And you're thinking, well, wait a minute. They go to work every day. I mean, granted, I don't know all their financial business and I don't know what all of their bills are, but it seems like this person never has any money. Is it possible that they could be subjected to economic abuse? I don't know, but it may be worth asking some gentle questions to gain greater insight so that you have a better idea of what's going on with the people that you're connected to. Why is it so important for people to understand what economic abuse is all about? Because the impact of it is far reaching. It has long term consequences. It can impact the victim's credit score. It can impact the victim's ability to find work. It can impact the victim's overall financial stability. And, some of you may be thinking, it's like, okay, wait a minute. Every time I turn around, such and such is asking, can they borrow money, or such and such is having to move, or such and such is having an issue with a car being repossessed, or not being able to make the appropriate repairs on their car, or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying definitively, but it is a possibility that someone that you care about, someone that you're connected to, is experiencing economic abuse and you're absolutely oblivious to it. In fact, research shows that financial abuse occurs in 99% of domestic violence cases. Why? Because it's a perfect way to trap the victim. If you don't have any money, if you don't have any resources, and you have someone that is verbally, emotionally, physically, and economically abusive to you, you know how easy that is for the victim to feel stuck? You know how easy that is for the victim to feel like they absolutely, positively have no viable options to leave this relationship? You have somebody else controlling your purse strings, gas in the car, clothes, food, shelter, personal items, getting back and forth, the doctor's visits. There's so many things that are connected to our economic freedoms that if someone is being economically abused, it can actually be easier for the abuser to manipulate them into thinking that the best option for them is to stay in the situation that they're in. I was speaking to someone, it was a couple of weeks ago, and they were going through a very difficult time in their relationship. And one of the things that the partner said to the person was, who's going to want you with two kids? Who you think going to take care of you and two kids? And what the person conveyed was, it's not that the person is not lucratively and gainfully employed, because they are, but they were going from a two-income household to a single-income household. And part of what the former partner was doing to try to manipulate the person was causing them to question their ability to achieve and maintain financial stability outside of the relationship. So that's where knowledge, again, is so important, because if that's someone that you're connected to, it's not enough. It's not acceptable to just say, oh, girl, I'm going to pray for you, or oh, man, I'm going to pray for you. Because don't think for a moment that it's just women that are subjected to economic abuse. Men go through it too, right? It's not gender specific. It is more prevalent among women, but don't think for a moment that men don't experience economic abuse as well, because they certainly do. So you want to be able to educate and empower yourself with appropriate information, so that if someone that you care about, whether it's a colleague, a family member, or a friend, or whoever, you can have a well-informed discussion with them and be prepared to share with them resources that are available to them that can be instrumental in helping them to achieve the results that they need outside of the relationship from an economic and financial standpoint. The other thing is that as it relates to economic abuse, we also see that it's connected to elder abuse, in that some of the studies that are currently out show that 1 in 5 older adults reported experiencing elder abuse during the COVID-19 pandemic that adversely impacted their finances. So again, where are your parents? Where are your grandparents? What is going on with them? Making sure that they're not being subjected to who has power of attorney. If you're in a situation like that, if there is a situation where someone else has power of attorney, where your parent or your grandparent is concerned, My encouragement to you would be to follow up to the best of your ability and make sure that your parent or your grandparents' finances are being appropriately managed by that person. My recommendation would be, if it's possible, have a check and balance in place where there are two people that are responsible for managing the finances and the care, because you have, financial power of attorney, you have medical power of attorney. You want to be able to educate yourself about those things so that you are sure, to the best of your knowledge, that the person that you care about, whether it's a parent or a grandparent or just another elderly person that you care about, is being properly looked after as it relates to economics. One of the issues, and I'm sure many of you are aware of this to a degree, is that for a variety of reasons, oftentimes abuse is not reported. We know that based on our current national average, only 1 in 24 cases of abuse are actually reported to authorities. And I do apologize, I don't have the specific statistics in front of me regarding race and ethnicity as that is concerned. But we do know, particularly in Black and brown communities, there's already a stigma and fears that come into play when it comes to interaction with the authorities. So, one of the things that also has to be taken into consideration is that it may be that much more problematic for reports to come in because there's so many other things that we have to be taking into consideration when it comes to reporting when you're of Black and brown hue. Here's the thing. People say cash is king. And to a degree, it is. But in this country, in this United States of America, your credit is important. And if you are in a relationship where you're experiencing economic abuse, one of the things that you may deal with as a consequence in the long run is the person that is the economic abuser is running up credit cards or loans in the victim's name, which can have adverse impact on your credit score. And if you're already dealing with credit challenges because of decisions that you've made outside of whatever it is that may be going on in the relationship, it's an even deeper hole, pardon me, to dig yourself out of. The reality of it is that a lack of knowledge combined with a lack of resources can be a recipe for disaster when it comes to getting out of an abusive situation. And my encouragement to you this evening is that in order for you to be positioned to leave or to change the dynamics of the relationship, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. I was working with a client yesterday and we were processing emotions that she was experiencing, and it was like the lights came on and the bells started ringing, and she finally got it. She literally has been being abused her whole life. Literally her whole life. And one of the things that she said that I thought was profound, she said, Dr. Pitts, she said, I think I got to a point where I had to start telling myself that I wasn't being abused. Even though deep down on the inside I knew that I was, I had to start telling myself that I wasn't being abused because I just had no idea how to stop it. So I convinced myself that it wasn't going on. And now that we're working together and we're doing these interactive activities and having these deep discussions and we're processing things and you're provoking my thoughts, and I'm in this place and space in my life now where I can freely express what I really think and feel. And you as my therapist or not telling me that I'm crazy, you're pushing back gently and saying, well, what do you think? It's not for me to tell you. I mean, I check the criteria, so I know that there's definitely been abuse, neglect, and maltreatment for a very, very, very long time. But as a clinician, I don't want to impose my assessment on my client. I want my client to be able to process the information as we're unpacking it and sorting through it and sorting it out, and be able to make a well-informed decision for themselves regarding what they really think and feel about what's going on in their life and how those experiences have impacted them. And that's what I say to those of you who are listening. If you've been questioning what's been happening to you in your relationship, or if you have been questioning some things that seem a little strange in the relationship of someone that's connected to you, give yourself permission to elevate your perspective. And what I mean by that, I say it this way to my clients. I say, I want to take you from what I call the dance floor of life up to the balcony of life, because it's at that elevated perspective that you are able to see yourself, those that you're connected to, and everything that's going on in your life from a much clearer perspective. That elevated perspective for the time that we're in session takes you out of the woods. It takes you out of the forest so that you can see things more clearly. And that's what I say to you. Give yourself permission to elevate your perspective so that you can see your situation more clearly, and stop lying to yourself about the bad behaviors of those that are connected to you or that you're in relationship with. I remember I was working with a client a while ago, and they were telling me about a situation that they thought was odd in someone that they were connected to. And the client said, Dr. Pitts, am I crazy? Or does this sound like abusive to you? And what was being discussed was the fact that a friend of theirs who was an adult, who had been an adult for quite some time, who had no cognitive deficiencies, had no cognitive delays, was not in any way, shape, form, or fashion considered a vulnerable person, a member of the vulnerable population. And this adult person was going to work every day, earning a respectful and quite frankly, a substantial income. And this adult's parent was taking the adult child's paycheck and giving the adult child an allowance. And oh, by the way, this person, because I said, well, is there substance abuse involved? Is there some extenuating circumstance that would be some form of justification of why an adult parent why a parent would take their adult child's paycheck and give them an allowance like they're in high school or something. And there was nothing. There was nothing that was disclosed to me that would justify or even explain a teeny bit as to why this was acceptable. But it screamed economic abuse that involved financial conflict. And because in that example that the person shared with me, because the individual virtually had no assertive communication skills, just felt obligated, even though it was extremely, extremely bothersome to them, they felt obligated to allow their parent to do this. In what world? In what world is this okay when there's nothing wrong? There's no extenuating circumstance that would make this decision okay. It screams economic abuse. So when you look at the statistics even further, and you look at victims of domestic violence, the research shows us that 2 in 10 indicate that they have in fact been victims of financial abuse. 66.5% say the abuse is a reason why they left the relationship. So yay, bravo to those who had the strength and the courage to leave. And almost 14% say that they're currently in a financially abusive relationship. And then you had 5.2% who weren't sure. But that's why the knowledge is so important. That's why being able to make a well-informed decision and educating yourself and empowering yourself about these things so that you know what's happening to you. Ignorance can be overwhelmingly dangerous to your overall well-being. So I say again, if you or someone you know is experiencing any form of domestic violence or abuse, you have the option of calling 911 or the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. So how do you know? How do you know if you're a victim outside of the things that I've already shared? You finding out or being strong-armed or bullied into someone opening a credit card or a loan or buying something on credit in your name. And hear me, intimate partner, your children, your grandchildren, a sibling. This is not, relationship discrimination here. This can happen in any relationship dynamic. You're afraid of what's going to happen to you if you don't agree to open a credit card and give it to your child, or you don't agree to take out a loan for your sibling, or you don't agree to buy something on credit for your partner. You're terrified of what might happen if you don't comply. Is somebody connected to you building up debt in your name and daring you, daring you to say something about it, daring you to push back, daring you to report them to the authorities, daring you to express your disapproval of this behavior? Are you in a situation where you're being forced to buy things or pay bills for somebody that's connected to you? I want to pause for a moment because one of the recurring themes that I'm hearing more and more frequently from a number of my clients is people are afraid to assert themselves because they don't want to get somebody else in trouble. People are afraid to assert themselves because they don't want to hurt somebody else's feelings. Make that make sense to me. Make that make sense to me that someone can destroy your credit, have creditors calling you and threatening you, and you can't get a car, you can't get a place to live, you can't get a line of credit, you can't get the things, the basic necessities that you have a right to. You can't acquire those things because people connected to you have abused you financially, and you're afraid of hurting their feelings or them getting in trouble for these behaviors. I am a firm believer that, particularly when people are dealing with the consequences of their behavior and it was just a lapse of judgment or just blatant irresponsibility on their part, I believe that grown folks need to be able to deal with the consequences of their decisions. And let me say this. Let me make sure that I put this piece out here about grace, right? So I'm not saying that somebody makes a mistake one time and you knock them in the head. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about when there is a pattern of behavior that says that this person repeatedly is finding themselves in these horrific situations because they're behaving repeatedly in irresponsible ways. It's not your responsibility to turn your life upside down to help them. It's not, if every vehicle that the person has ever had has gotten repossessed because they don't pay their bills, why on earth would you buy them a car in your name and think that now all of a sudden they're going to start paying their bills? Their track record says they don't behave responsibly. So why would you do that? Why would you put a loan, a car loan, a credit card line, why would you do that? They don't keep a job. They when they have one, they half-tail do. Come on, folks. Come on. If we live long enough, everybody goes through things. God knows. I've been through things. I've experienced financial hardship. I have definitely needed other people's help. But I don't know that there's anybody that would ever say that I've abused the help that they have given me. When you're in that place and space that you're allowing someone to handle you this way, one, it suggests that there's destructive entitlement, meaning that they feel like you owe it to them. You're my mom. You can't do this for me. You're my husband. You can't do this for me. You're my wife. You can't do this for me. You can't co-sign for me. Why would I do that? You don't pay your bills. You have a track record that clearly demonstrates you don't pay your bills. And if I allow you to strong arm me into doing that, I have now become a victim of economic abuse. And there's something very wrong with that picture. This impact is far-reaching. Its purpose is to create instability. Its purpose is in the case where someone is controlling your money, controlling your financial freedom, if you will. It's designed to keep you dependent upon them. It's designed to keep you unstable. It's designed to keep you at their mercy. And you must ask yourself, why? Why does this person need to control me? Why does this person need to have me under their rule of thumb? Why? Because I'm here to tell you, again, it's not just intimate relationships. Parents do it to their children, sibling, elders. This is not discriminatory. But why? I heard of a situation, and this was, I was just talking to somebody that I know, and the individual, shared with me that they were aware that someone else that they knew was not using integrity in how they were managing the person's finances that they were responsible for. I've heard of situations where there's a friend of mine that works for an organization for that manages the resources and what have you of individuals with developmental challenges, and she was sharing that one of the issues that they're constantly having to address is the persons that are responsible for the individuals with developmental disabilities or delays finances. She's having to watchdog them because there's red flags that come up. There's red flags that come up that indicate to her that there's a misappropriation of funds. That, why are these withdrawals? So she's really being dogmatic in doing her job to protect the clients that she's responsible for, overseeing how the person responsible for managing their finances is. And we need to, because what's evident is, particularly where vulnerable populations are concerned, economic abuse is significant. And you have to pay attention to that. If you want to be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem, you have to be able to identify economic abuse when you see it. If you're in a situation where whoever it is that's connected to you where finances are concerned is sabotaging your income and access to your money, that's an indication that you're a victim of economic abuse. They're preventing you from being in employment. In other words, they don't want you to work at all. They just want you to be totally dependent upon them. Or they limit your working hours, or they take your money or refuse to let you claim your benefits, or they take children's savings or birthday money or refuse to let you access a bank account. That's an indication of economic abuse. I'll tell you a funny story real quick. My son's, the summer that he was going into his freshman year in college, he had gone back to New Jersey to work with his uncle for the summer. And at the time, God bless her, she's deceased now. But the person that his father was with at the time got the bright idea that she was going to take his paycheck. And he called me and said, Mom, I just got paid, but so-and-so took my paycheck and told me that I didn't know anything about managing money. And I was like, huh? I said, what you mean? What do you mean she took your paycheck? He said, Mom, she took my paycheck. So cheese slid off my cracker. I wasn't a therapist yet back then. Cheese slid off my cracker, and I had made some good phone calls. And I had a conversation, and I remember I reached out to his dad, and I was like, hey, check this out, right? So we have prided ourselves on educating and empowering this young man about virtually everything that we can think of. So in actuality, he does know how to manage money. He does know how to save and spend and invest in all of these things. So this is what's going to happen. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to allow you to address this, because if it's not resolved by the time I get off the plane and get there, we're going to have a problem. I got it. I'm going to take care of it. How do you do that? How do you just take somebody's paycheck that has all their faculties and convey to them that they don't know? What are we doing? And who do you think you are? It's not okay. Are you dealing with a situation where somebody's restricting how you use your money and the things that you own? They control how and when you spend money. They dictate what you can buy. They make you ask for money or provide you with an allowance. They check your receipts, make you keep a spending diary, make you justify every purchase made, control the use of property such as a mobile phone or car, insist on economic assets are in their name, keep financial information secret. Economic abuse and financial conflict. What are we doing? Are you being exploited? Is somebody stealing your money or property? Are they damaging your property? Are they refusing to contribute to household costs or spending money needed for household items and bills? Are they misusing money in joint bank accounts? Are they insisting on all the bills, credit cards, and loans being in your name and make you pay them and don't contribute to the household? Are they building up debt? Economic abuse. So what do you do? If this is you, or if this is somebody you know, what do? You have to get educated on the resources that are available to you that you can access for support. Stop thinking, please stop thinking that you're stuck. I know you feel stuck. I understand why you feel stuck. God knows I felt stuck too. But the reality of it was, I wasn't stuck, and neither are you. You just may need to connect with someone or a group of someones who can be instrumental in educating you about the resources that are available to you. I want to encourage you to get a copy of your credit report and monitor your credit regularly. Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. All of them have credit monitoring services. Or if you want to do it for free, you can do it on Credit Karma. But just know that on Credit Karma, the numbers are going to be skewed. They're usually, from what I've seen, they're usually off by about 10 points or so from what the actual credit bureau scores are. But you have to be able to make a well-informed decision. And if you don't know how to read your credit report, ask somebody. Reach out to me, DM me, email me. I'll tell you how to do it. It's not hard. It is not hard. Open a post office box for mail and any financial information you may receive before you leave or immediately after you leave an abusive situation. Contact utility companies, wireless telephone service, and financial institutions to secure your private financial information with a special PIN. I did that years ago. There have been times that I couldn't even get credit in my name because I forgot that I had put all of these security features and stuff on my credit because of the situation that I was in. I had to be able to take the necessary steps to protect myself so that I couldn't further be taken advantage of as I was making the transition out of the abusive situation that I was in. You want to make sure that once you leave, that you're updating your PIN numbers for your credit cards, your debit cards, your banking passwords, your investment passwords, all of those things. And you want to make sure to make the necessary changes to your insurance plans, your will if you have them, and any other type of asset, no matter how small. I'm going to give you this last tip before I get out of your way this evening. A lot of people don't know that you can assign a beneficiary to your bank account, payable upon death. So if something happens to you, that money, whatever it is, can go to whoever a designated beneficiary is. You want to make a list of all of the things that need to be taken care of as you're creating an exit strategy. But you are not stuck. You are not. There are resources that are available, and it's like I've said, every single solitary live this month. Yes, there are inconveniences that come with getting free. There are inconveniences that come with the transition from being a victim to being a survivor. But you are worth it. And I don't want you to ever forget that. You are worth it. You can always reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to speak with you, answer questions, point you in the direction of resources that are available to you. Enjoy your evening. I'll see you all next Thursday. Good night.